We are living in uncertain times. None of us are sure what's going to happen as it relates to the sheltering in place and the social distancing. And even when things get back to normal, whatever that's going to look like, we're uncertain as to how we will move forward and what society will look like as it responds to this in the long term. And uncertainty always brings with it a feeling or a sense of lack of confidence. Like when things aren't clear, we become we become insecure. And then when we become insecure, we lack the courage to rise up and be bold and be strong. And it's because we can't see where it's going. We can't see we can see what's happening, but we can't see where all of this is going. And so we don't know how to act. And so we're looking for direction. When the pastor John wrote to his 7 churches, he wrote to them from the vision that he had got in the first chapter. He writes them in chapters 2 and chapter 3, but it was in chapter 1 that he gets his vision. And his vision is of this cosmic Christ, an all-powerful king and ruler. And he sees him amidst his, with all these with different metaphors, walking amongst the church, holding stars in his hand, his voice like the sound of many waters, his eyes a blaze of fire. And he has this incredible vision of Christ. And then Christ speaks to him and says, write what you see to the 7 churches. And so he picks up his pen, his ink quill, and he begins to write to the 7 churches. And when he writes to them, the first thing that he says to those 7 churches is he takes a little part of the vision that he has and he gives it to each church so that collectively they have the full picture of Christ, but individually they only have part of the picture of Christ. This is interesting because I think when we're in uncertain times, as the church was that John was writing to, all the apostles have died. They have gone on. It seems like they're at the end of an age. Things are not what they used to be. The church is struggling, and there is an uncertainty, but he knows the way to bring them into a place of how they are to be and how they are to act in this time is to give them a vision of Christ. Sometimes we think we need a vision of the future. We need to know about tomorrow. We need things to be clear and how they're going to turn out. And that's not what the Revelator says to us. He says when you're in uncertain times, whether it's because you're suffering or whether it's because you're apathetic or whether it's because that you've kind of run the course and the mundane has hit in and you're just tired and bored. Whenever you reach those points, which we all do, and whatever you go through in your city where you're called to be, if you have a vision of Christ, you can make it through. You don't need to have a vision about how things are going to work out or what it's going to be like or how the economy is going to be or whether your stocks are going to go up or your 401k. You don't have to have a vision of that. If you have a vision of Christ, it will instill you with security. You'll know how much you're loved, and it will fill you with boldness to rise up and act and be who he sees your full potential to be. So it's a call for all of us to renew our vision in Christ, to get a renewed look at what it is that he's offering to us. Because when we see Jesus, we see everything that we need to see to get us through what we're walking through. So I keep to encourage you when you get off the devotional this morning or afternoon or evening, whenever you're watching this, I'd like to encourage you just to close your eyes and get a fresh vision of God and his love for you, God and his grace for you, and allow that to be what gives you both the confidence internally and the courage externally to go forward into what he's calling you into.